hello and welcome YouTubers and Doctor Who fans, and yes, to my new series I'll be going through each and every Doctor Who story, starting with William Hartnell all the way to the end of the new series with Peter Capaldi in Series 8 until that releases. So it's going to be a very long term series and I hope you enjoy it. I know a load of other YouTubers have done it, but the person who I got inspiration will be credited in the description. So I hope you enjoyed this series, since a lot of people have done it, so I'm definitely inspired to do it. And today I'll be starting with William Hartnell. So yes, we can start with the William Hartnell era, and I would say we can start with this great set right by here. We have Lost in Time, which I think is an absolute essential set to all Doctor Who fans because it experiences the lost episodes. I finally got it. Maybe a spoiler to the showcase, but still a great set. So now we can finally begin. I wasn't going to go over the lost episodes since I have a reconstruction. So let's begin with An Unearthly Child. Yeah, Unearthly Child is a good four-parter for the first episode. Well, part one is fantastic. Then it does get very repetitive, and then not really a good written story, and still a bit of flaws in it. But it's still a good opening story for Doctor Who. But part one is just fantastic. It's still highly essential to watch. The Daleks, again, not one of my favourite Dalek stories, or 1960s Dalek stories, but still it's very enjoyable. It would have been a lot better if it was like a 6-parter or a 5-parter. A bit odd for a 5-parter, but I think it would have suited this story a lot better. The Edge of Destruction. The Edge of Destruction I find fairly underrated. I personally enjoy it. Some scenes were very unnecessary, but I like it. It's alright from David Whittaker. Probably not one of his bests, but I still enjoy it. Marco Polo, with a very intimidating cover art. Even though the BBC, I think they are hiding this story since 2011 from The Enemy of the Wood and the Web of Fear. But anyway, Marco Polo is a fantastic story. I'm loving it ever since now. I'm loving it so much now. Great, fantastic characterization is probably the best thing about it, but as well as a great story. The Keys of Marinus. Now, I actually watched this one not long ago, actually, since I forgot about it. But Keys of Marinus, it's alright, nothing brilliant about it, but it has one of the most funniest scenes ever, where Ian punches a vault and it falls into the acid. Just the way he falls is hilarious. I love that scene. The Aztecs. The Aztecs is one of my honourable William Hartnell stories, which means it was very close friends in the top 10, but sadly did not make it. I think this story does go over people's heads some places, but still, it's a fabulous written story and has some great characters in it, especially the Butcher, very threatening. The Sensorites, it's a bit of a naff in my opinion. Part 1's good, it has the Curse of the Hartnell, you know. Part 1's good, but then it just falls to bits. Sensorites, crap monsters, not very convincing in my opinion. It does get a little bit Doctor Who and the Silurians during the middle to end, but it's alright, I guess. The Reign of Terror, another one of my honourables to the William Hartnell era. I really enjoyed this one, but there's some flaws to it. It's not perfect, but it's still a good story. Great characters in it. Also, alright animation, not their best, but it's an enjoyable William Hartnell story. A lot of people complain about this cover. I'm not sure why, but I love the cover. Planet of Giants. Now, I don't really want to say this, but I really like the story. Now, people are probably going to be saying, why would you like this crap? But I enjoy this crap. It is absolutely great, this story is. I think it's really well done. I think they correspond with the background fantastically. It also has a very interesting subplot as well. And I enjoy it. I think it's really well written. And I can see why people hate it, but I think it's great effects from 1960. It's fantastic effects. The Dalek Invasion of Earth. Well, I know some people like this one. If it's your childhood, it's your childhood. I can't really blame you there, but I find it overrated in my opinion. I've spotted so many camera errors in this. The same as Keys of Marinus is just as worse. But the Dalek Invasion of Earth is littered with errors, and it has some acting error. Some of the acting isn't great. It has a lot of problems with it. I'm not sure if I would watch that again. The rescue, nothing special really. It's just the introduction of Vicky. That's it. It has a nice twist to it, even though you can see it coming. It's alright. The Romans, great historical. I really enjoyed this one. Absolutely fantastic. I know a lot of people don't like this one, but I personally enjoyed it. It was really funny. Really enjoyed it. Great run around. Great story. The Web Planet. Well, alright, this is one of these stories actually. I think this is a really well written story from Bill Strutton. I think it's by Bill Strutton. But this is a great story he's written, but it's just ruined by other points such as crap monsters and badly padded. And the worst thing about the Web Planet is the monsters. Come on, they are absolutely disgraceful. I just don't know who would... they're just not really threatening monsters in my opinion. And the butterfly creatures, oh my god, they are just terrible. Even worse than the Zarbi. But Web Planet is a well-written story, just ruined by other faults. I like the background setting though. It does feel very alien planet-like. The Crusade, this is where I think David Whittaker starts to strengthen up. And yeah, this is a great story. One of my honourables again. Great characterization, great plot, and Barbara is very good in this story. The Space Museum. Oddly enough, this is absolute garbage in my opinion. This is just terrible. I don't enjoy this story whatsoever now. Part 1 has a little bit of mystery in it, then, to be honest, it just falls to pieces after that. It gets so boring, I cannot watch that one. I can never watch that one. The Chase, underrated. A lot of people really despise this Dalek story. I enjoy it. It's a fun little run around. They go to all different types of locations. I know the Daleks get destroyed in so many ways, but it's alright. I enjoy it. It's like a nice run around. The Time Meddler. It's pretty good, I guess. I know a lot of people like this story. I think it's okay. I just call it an historical with a little tweak added to it, which is the Time Meddler. I know this is a lot of people's favourites. It's not one of my favourites if I'm honest, but I can easily watch it again. Galaxy 4, great story this one is. I hope they've recovered this one. I really enjoy it. Maybe just for my own benefit, because a lot of other people really hate this story. But I think it's a great story, lovely twist to it, or great twist to it. The most cutest robot monsters in the entire world. I forgot what they're called. And the monster designs right by here are fantastic. Mission to the Unknown, the prequel to Dalek's Master Plan. Yeah, it's a great one. I think people like to see this one. It just makes them build up to the Dalek's Master Plan. And if this one was recovered, then people will be moaning for the Dalek's Master Plan even more, because it feels like a very long teaser. The Mythmakers. I really like this cover art. I love this cover. The Mythmakers, again, if you don't like the Romans, you won't like this story, because it's the second time they've done comedy on this one. I really enjoy the Mythmakers. It's a fun little run around, I guess. Great characters, quite funny. Moving on. The Daleks Master Plan, a granddaddy classic with a granddaddy actor, which is I keep forgetting his name, but he plays a character called Marvick Chen. He is just brilliant. Top performances go to Marvick Chen because he's just a fantastic actor. Well, whatever his name is, but he's just brilliant. I love him so much. He would have been a person which I would love to meet, but he has passed away sadly, but he is great. Again, Dalek's Master Plan, fantastic build-up. Loses it in 7, 8 and 9, but then builds up again to have a fantastic ending, but very dark. The Massacre, another one of my favourites, probably my favourite historical actually. The Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve is a great story. Bit of Enemy of the World to start with, because you can see it features 2 doctors on the cover. as well, with one of the most darkest endings to any Doctor Who story I ever encountered, with a beautiful speech which Doctor Who fans must experience. Part 2 is probably the weakest about this. It sort of slows down, but it builds up again. Great characters. The Ark. I enjoy it. It's really well written. I forgot who written it, but it's great. The Ark is fantastic. It feels like a different story when it gets to part 1 and 2 and part 3 and 4. It feels completely different, but that's when they go back to it in like some 900 years or something like that. But yeah, The Ark is a great story. The only thing that lets it down is the monsters, since they are not convincing and they sound ridiculous. Well, one of them does, but yeah, The Ark is I really enjoy The Ark. The Celestial Toymaker, one of my favourites, and someone would be very proud if I'm saying this, but Celestial Toymaker is just absolutely a classic story. I really enjoy it. I know it's very underrated actually. I've looked on the DWM rankings and it's rated very low. It's because it's so visual and audio, and Enemy of the World suffered the same thing because it was so talkative, but this one, it shows so many games and it's so visual too, and I can see why people can't get into it in audio because it's so visual. But it's a great story. That character is a complete pain in the backside, but I love what happens to it. I love what happens to him. It's so funny. The Gunfighters. Gunfighters, I've got mixed opinions on it. I love it, but I'm not sure really. I may rewatch it again because I'm a bit puzzled about it. I'll rate it average so far, but I'll have to rewatch it again. The Savages. Oh, I find this the most boring story I've ever listened in my life. Nothing really happens really, and it's the only Doctor Who story where no one dies in, and that's what it's credited at. Savages, it's kind of a clever story, but it didn't really go anywhere really. It's alright, I guess. The War Machines. The War Machines is a great William Hartnell story. I really enjoy it. I know people don't really like this story, but I like it. It's a good run around, I guess. William Hartnell's great in it. Probably top performances go to him. The War Machines are great. People say they like the Daleks, or like a rip-off of them. I personally, I just say no to it. But yeah, it's a good story. I enjoy it. The Smugglers, or 1960s Pirates of the Caribbean style. But personally for me, I haven't listened to it in a long time. But I didn't remember enjoying it since I found it boring on audio. But maybe it might change when it's discovered. A lot of people say it has been found. But very interesting characters. I think everyone's having a really fun time with that story. And finally we have the 10th Planet. I love the 10th Planet. It's a great story. The Cybermen are quite underrated in it. Well, the costumes are, because they keep falling apart, and the set themselves didn't like them as well, so they rechanged them in the moon base. But 10th Planet, fantastic story, great cliffhangers, and very goosebump in some places as well. So we have completed the William Hartnell era in 14 minutes. Wow, that is good. That is. I thought it was going to be a lot longer. But yes, next time I'll be taking a look at the Patrick Troughton era, and you can see it actually finishes on the war game, so I can have a complete row of the 60s. So yes, stay tuned for next time when I go through the Patrick Troughton era.